Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
Hey guys, Connor from the Ticket Stub, and you are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe, and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Welcome to Veterans Air, the Veterans Hour, your source for news, talk, and uncensored commentary here on your Lone Star Community Radio. I am your host, Douglas B. You can listen to us live the first Tuesday of every month here on Lone Star Community Radio, and at 10 a.m. Tuesdays here on the radio, you can listen to past shows. As always, we're going to do a little housekeeping before we get started. How do you get hold of us? You can contact Veterans Air through our website, www.veteransair.us, on Facebook, or you know what? You can text us in the studio on our Google phone, 936-344-3083. And as always, you can drop me an email at douglasb@veteransair.us. We've got a big show for you today. We're going to talk about taxes. We're going to talk about VetFest. And we're going to talk about Memorial Day because it is May. We're going to talk about voting too. Don't let me forget that. We're going to talk about voting. As always, after the show, you'll be able to get my notes and my commentary, and you can download that, of course, from veteransair.us. Click the links below or above on the side, wherever you happen to be watching, because you can listen to our archives on Facebook, on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, and wherever you get your fine podcasts. All right, let's get started. Charlie Daniels, musician, I think he summed up what I'm feeling in his song, Simple Man. And I can identify with this song. And I read it to you. It starts, I ain't nothing but a simple man. Some call me a redneck, and I reckon I am. But there's things going on that make me mad down to the core. I've got to work like a dog to make ends meet. There's crooked politicians and crime in the street, and I'm madder than hell, and I ain't gonna take it no more. You know what's wrong with the world today? People have gone and put their Bibles away. They're living by the law of the jungle, not the law of this land. That's true. Just turn on your favorite news, and you'll see it. Living by the law of the jungle, not the law of the land. And what is the law of the land, my good listeners? The U.S. Constitution. I think a bunch of people need to reread that because, and this goes from our president, commander-in-chief, all the way down to the local offices. They need to reread this Constitution because your rights and my rights, they've already been guaranteed by this document and God. The government doesn't give you your rights. Let's talk about rights for a moment. Let's talk about having to pay tax. The sad truth is you have to pay tax. That's the truth. If we want programs and we want infrastructure and we want this, that, and the other thing, then you have to pay tax that funds that. Today's government, they spend more than they make. Let me rephrase that. They spend more of your money than they actually take in. That's why we have a $30 trillion deficit. What happens if you live on your credit cards? Comes a time where your credit cards max out. Comes a time that you can no longer afford your credit cards. Same things happen in government. Let's scale that down to the local level. Have you gotten your property tax valuation? You should have gotten it in April. It looks like this. This is not your tax bill. This is what the county tax assessor's office is saying what your property is worth this coming year and what you will be taxed on. Now, personally, my home went from 100K to over 162K, though the land value, that's just the housing value, the land value remains 21,000. So if you're like me and lived on a fixed income, you're being taxed out of your home. Trust me. I live in a 1,300 square foot house built in 1982 just off of Fraser Road. According to the tax assessor, that house is worth $183,000. That's next year's assessed value. No, it's not. Trust me on this, it's not. Now, there are exemptions that you can apply for, and we're going to talk about those in just a minute. But I want you to pay attention to this. I want you to look at this. I want you to figure out how much it's gone up, and then I want you to file a protest. And you have only until May 16th to get that protest in. The assessor's office has made it easier for you because along with your tax assessment, you received the property owner's notice of protest. You need to go and file this. Even if you can afford your property tax this year, you still need to file it. Because I am betting you that your assessed value for your home has gone up astronomically. These, in my opinion, these assessed values are falsely inflated because of the housing market right now. And this is true. This is a truism, I guess is the right word for it, truism. Once a price goes up, it doesn't come back down. Now, you have to get your protest in by May 16th, and the hearings start also on May 16th, so you don't have much time. I have been working with Montgomery County Judge's Office to get Judge Kehoe, our mayor, and the tax assessor, Tammy Ray, on the show to talk about this issue, but it's hard getting them all together. So I got a special shout out and thank you to Kimberly over at the Montgomery County Judge's Office, who is coordinating all this for me. Thank you, Kimberly. All is not lost. It's not. I went to the city council meetings, and I spoke with the mayor, and I spoke with several city council members. And there is something that the city can do and has done. The city council just approved a historic tax bill. And I believe that Dick's going to throw that up. And the links for this is down below, above, wherever not. Let me read this press release to you in its entirety, and then we're going to talk about some exemptions. This is dated Thursday, April 28th, 2022. This morning, Conroe City Council voted and approved an increase on the current homestead exemption from 2.5% to 20%. This is almost 10 times any exemption the city has provided in its history and the maximum allowed by law. Let me say that. The maximum amount allowed by law. This means your appraised value will be reduced to 20% and then taxed by the city of Conroe at that lower value. Considering the rising values, especially in residential properties, the increased homestead exemption should certainly be a significant benefit to homeowners. City of Conroe is leading the efforts to provide our citizens some relief. Mayor Pro Tem Raymond McDonald said, our citizens, quote, our citizens need immediate and drastic relief considering these substantial increases in appraised values, and it is our job as their elected leaders to do whatever we can to provide them with that relief. McDonald worked very closely with the tax assessor collector, Tammy McCrae, on the city's effort to pass the maximum homestead exemption. Tammy McCrae said, and I quote, "I encourage all jurisdictions to follow the lead of Conroe officials and consider granting the maximum homestead exemption." During the Wednesday afternoon council workshop, Councilwoman Marsha Porter recommended to also increase the over 65 exemption as well as the disabled exemption. Currently, the City of Conroe over 65 exemption amount was $15,000 and disabled exemption was $7,500. Councilwoman Porter proposed that these exemptions be increased to $40,000. Along with the homestead exemption increase, the City Council also voted in favor of increasing the over 65 exemption and disability exemption amounts to $40,000. Mayor Jody, and Jody, I'm gonna murder your name. I'm sorry, I always do. Mayor Jody Zakowski said, quote, "These new exemptions are not only allowing tax relief for our seniors and disabled, but also every hardworking homeowner in our community. It's good for our citizens. It's right for Conroe, and it's the right thing to do." I applaud everybody that worked hard to get this passed. Now, let's talk about exemptions. I consider myself a typical veteran. And as a typical veteran and a Texan, I filed for a homestead exemption. That homestead exemption this year went from 2.5% to 20% reduction of my appraised value. I also have an exemption for being a disabled veteran. That increased from $7,500 to, what was it? To $40,000. So all of these, did that hurt? Sorry, guys. It is important that you take advantage of every single exemption that you're qualified for to lower your tax bill. You can go to the Montgomery County Tax Assessor's website. You can go by their office on Gladsdale. But whatever you do, get these exemptions filed quickly. I mean, like today. These exemptions allow citizens of Conroe to effectively budget because they can figure out what their bill is going to be come October. Because this notice of appraisal, I am sorry, guys, I am just hitting everything all over the place. This notice of appraisal that came out last month, this is not your tax bill. But you can use this to estimate what your tax bill will be. When I asked Judge Kehoe to come on the show, and he will, and Mayor Jody's going to come on, and hopefully Tammy McRae can find some time in her schedule to come on also, they're going to talk to you about how to go about filing for these exemptions and the deadlines associated with them. In short, you need to go file a homestead, and you can only have one homestead. And if you're disabled, you need to file for that. You need, if you're disabled, your letter from the VA that you get in January that shows how much of your disability you have. And if you're over 65, you should file for that also. Is this a cheat? Is this you not paying your fair share? No. This is you taking advantage of what our city council and our elected officials, not leaders, our elected officials, have said as a thank you to you. for your years of service. I say take advantage of them. If you don't feel that you want to take advantage of them and you want to pay a full amount of tax on your appraised value of your home, then I say to you, thank you. We always can use the money. Talk about rates. Changes need to be made. Now, I asked the judge to come on, but I want to let you know that the judge has absolutely nothing to do with appraisals in this county. Zero does he have to do with this. But I'm going to have him on the show, or attempt to have him on the show, to talk about what happens in appraisal districts and how that appraisal and the tool to collect money in taxes, where that comes from. Because, trust me, the appraiser's office did not just wake up one morning and said, I'm going to get more money for the city and for the county. No. Property tax comes from the state down. So if we want measurable changes in the way our property taxes are valued, what do we have to do as citizens? We have to go to Austin and start protesting. So I encourage everybody that's listening to this to contact your state representative. I encourage everybody listening to this that wants to participate and have a meaningful discussion in Austin with our elected leaders on property tax reform to contact me. If I get enough people together, we'll rent a bus, we'll get some box lunches, we'll head on out there. We've done it before, we can do it again. But it takes you, me, and everybody else to voice our opinions in a manner in which our elected officials can understand. We need to do it as a united front. That being said, I want to give a healthy applause to the City Council for passing this, for getting this done in time. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop saying all the bad things that I say about you guys. No, that's a lie. I'm going to stop saying a lot of the bad things I say about you guys. Speaking of officials, speaking of our elected officials, do you know what today is? Dick, do you know what today is? Today is the last day of early voting for our elected officials. We have had early voting now for our local elected officials for a couple of weeks. If you haven't voted, you need to get out today to vote. If you miss today, your only other recourse is to go on May 7th to vote. That's it. You've had from the 25th to today to do early voting. And if you want to know where you need to vote, just go on over to cityofconroe.org/elections. Go over to the Montgomery County Elections Board, and they'll give you a whole long list of the places where you can vote, depending on what district you're in. There is a very, very good reason for you to get out and vote in your local election. Especially this time, because we have a number of proposals on the ballot that need to be voted on. And if you do not know what these proposals are, again, go over to the cityofconroe.org and look at the ballot. Go over to Montgomery County Elections, look at the ballot. Do a little research really quick on what the proposals mean to you. Because you may vote on a proposal totally different than I would vote on a proposal. I promised the mayor that I would talk about this. So let's talk about this. We have a number of proposals that need to be voted on, as well as 3 city council positions and a municipal judge. As our mayor, Jody Zakjowski, I murder your name every single time, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry. I'm just going to call you Mr. Mayor from now on. As our mayor says, quote, our future depends on you. And I promised him that I'd remind all the veterans to go out and vote today or on May 7th. Look, I'm not allowed to endorse any candidate on this show. I would like to, but if I do, Dick beats me. So I can't. But pay attention to who went to bat for you on this property tax issue. Pay attention to who's championing, who's promoting the changes to the tree cutting ordinances. And this is big in the city of Conroe, this tree cutting ordinance. Huge, huge issue. I mean, if you're upset that they're clear cutting property around you that's been there for 20 years and putting up businesses or rezoning for residential, you need to pay attention to this ordinance and who's trying to modify it and in what way. You need to pay attention to who's talking about flooding here in the city of Conroe and how they may have a plan to alleviate that. You need to pay attention to who's championing the lawsuits between the city of Conroe and the San Jacinto River Authority and how they're championing that and what that means to you. Because all of these issues are local issues. They're local. They're not going to show up in November on the ballot. Your time to voice your opinion and your desires is today or May 7th. Get out and vote. Please forgive me for drinking so much, but that's just the way it is. Now, see, if I follow my own schedule here, I would know what I'm doing. So I need to give a shout out to our sponsors, East Meets West Productions. Veterans Air is made possible by the support of East Meets West Productions, a full-service business and marketing consulting firm helping vets start and fund their business for over 30 years. For more information, call 361-904-0044. And this is my day job, and my boss pays me while I'm talking to y'all, so that I like them. So I want to talk to you about Combined Arms, this year's Combined Arms VetFest coming up on June 4th over at the fairgrounds. Yes, Veterans Air will be there. We're actually teaming up with VFW 4709 in a double booth this year. So there's going to be plenty of room. Come by, say hi, hang out. Combined Arms VestFet is a great outing and kid-friendly. So bring the family. VetFest is your chance to visit with and meet all the wonderful veteran service organizations in Montgomery County. And of course, this year's VetFest is sponsored by our VFW 4709. We haven't had a VetFest in a couple of years because COVID. So come on out. The VetFest, also, if you hang out for the full day, that they have a couple of good bands and musicians that will be playing this year. So hang around for that. Just a little background so you know a couple of things. Combined Arms has served over 22,000 veterans and is comprised of 188 member organizations. You need to attend for nothing else but to see and know what these service organizations are and how to get hold of them, because their sole existence is to support you. Dick, did anyone contact you to see if you wanted a booth out there? You're a 501c. Think about coming out. About this event, it's festival time, and the VFW, one more time. It's festival season, and this year's VetFest is going to be on June 4th at the Montgomery County Fairgrounds, and it is a free family fun day with food trucks, bouncy houses, a petting zoo, a baby camel, local craft beer and spirits, live music all day long, and endless veteran service organizations on site to support veterans and their families. Join us for free and stay for the night concert with a kick-ass lineup of terrific Texas music personalities for only $40 per ticket, if you want to come in the evening and just listen to the music. But you need to attend, trust me. Just bring the kids, come on out, it's at the fairgrounds, hang out for an hour or so, stop by the Veterans Air booth. I'll take you around and introduce you to people. Here's something for you, it's a freebie of sorts. If you come by the Veterans Air booth and you drop off your business card, or drop a name in the bowl at the Veterans Air booth, you could win this 8x12 gallery wrapped canvas entitled American Fury. Isn't that beautiful? Yes, I do that type of artwork. Drop your name in and you'll get a chance to win that. And if you join the VFW 4709 that day, you can put 2 chances to win. So, let's see. Let's recap. We talked about the property taxes. We talked about voting. We talked about VetFest. Oh, I want to say a couple more things about VetFest. I forgot my little cheat sheet here. If you contact Combined Arms, the average response time is 26 hours. Financial support last year so far has been given to 1,626 individuals. 1,061 received housing assistance. 4,719 received employment assistance. 1,262 received mental health services. 717 received food assistance. Did you listen to the show on the 19th? We had Keep Us Fed Montgomery County. Yep, one of those organizations. They have so far 13,500 volunteer hours, 918 participating in events. Combined Arms is a wonderful organization because it's not just one organization. It is a clearinghouse of 188 organizations. You go over to the website, you fill out a form, they find out which agencies can assist you in what you're needing, and they contact those organizations for them to contact you. If you haven't used Combined Arms, please do so. I'm going to get General Hummer on the show soon. General, if you listen to me, I need you to come back on the show and talk about Combined Arms. Okay, so how much time I got? 30 minutes? 30 minutes. We're going to talk about Memorial Day. Let me turn my page and talk about Memorial Day. Memorial Day. This day is held sacred by veterans and Gold Star families across the country. Most of us think of it as a 3-day weekend and the start of the summer. I don't want to bring anyone down or make you feel bad about having a barbecue on Memorial Day. By all means, have a barbecue. Go to the beach. Relax with a cold one and friends. But remember this day and teach your children why we have it. This is the day that we have, that our nation has set aside to remember our fallen brothers and sisters, moms and dads, aunts and uncles that did not make it back, did not survive their military service to this country. Kind of heavy, isn't it? If you, like me, have lost somebody in the military, you know that you're going to remember them on that day, but you're not going to sit there and cry over them all day long. Because for me, the people that I've lost, they wouldn't want me crying over them. They'd want me out living life. But I'm going to remember them. Because these brave souls that gave the last full measure of their devotion to this country so that we could live, that's heavy. It's become a tradition here at Veterans Air to read this story titled Grandpa for Memorial Day. I wrote this for my brothers and sisters who have fallen, and if I am found worthy, I'll meet them again in Valhalla. Dick, can we play Angel Flight? Are we allowed to? Do you have it queued up? No? All right. Yeah. Hey, tell you what. Instead of the last music that we do at the show, we close it out. We'll do Angel Flight to close it out. Yeah, I know that YouTube is going to kick us off, but they always do. All right. Let me read to you the story I wrote called Grandpa. It's something to drink first. Let me tell you a story of a man I know. I'm sure he has a name. Everybody has a name. It could be Robert, Tom, Jimmy, even Phil. But everyone just calls him Grandpa. Everybody in this town knows him. He could fix anything, given a can of WD-40 and a Craftsman wrench. You need your field mowed, Grandpa will show up with his tractor. Times get lean, and Grandpa will show up with eggs, a chicken, and a bag of veggies from the garden. And would you please be kind enough to help him out? The dang chickens are laying too much, and this year's crop is just entirely too much for him to use. Grandpa's getting long in the tooth. I've never seen him out of those beat-up shore boots, those jeans, and that old beat-to-hell hat that he's worn for years. At his age, he never expected to be raising a child again, but here he is, raising his 4-year-old grandson. Grandpa calls me up one day, asking for a ride to the airport. I arrive early because I've been taught if you're on time, you're late. He was still getting dressed as I walked in. He was just slipping his shirt over his airborne tattoo. I've seen it before, and he doesn't talk about it. But it's kind of like him, old and faded, but you can still make out the 173rd Airborne. I stop and stare because I've never seen him in a suit before. Shut your hole, he says, you're catching flies. These are my travel clothes. As I pull away from the airport, I wonder where he and his small grandson are going. But I was raised better than to ask. If he wanted me to know, he would have told me. He boards first with his grandson and settles down into first class. He removes his jacket, rolls up his sleeve, and loosens his collar. He holds his grandson in his lap. Others enter and look at him, an old man, long gray hair and a ponytail, and a small child on his lap. Some stare. Some just look, and some nod respectfully when they see his tattoo. The flight attendant comes by and offers drinks and a snack. She asks his grandson where he's going today. The child answers excitingly, "Grandpa is taking me to see my daddy." The attendant smiles and brings the child some milk and a cup of strong black coffee for Grandpa. The attendant asks if his son lives in Maryland. Grandpa says, "No, my son is with my men in Virginia. They got a nice plot of land out there, and someday that's where I'd like to settle down myself." The flight lands, and they take a taxi. They stop first at the mall in the D.C. Grandpa walks, holding the child's hand to the wall. The child asks, "Is this where my daddy is, Grandpa?" There's tears in his eyes as he picks up his grandson and he holds him tight. He whispers, "No, he's not here." As a tear rolls down his face. The child in his arms kisses the tear from his grandfather's withered face, saying, "There, I made it all better, didn't I?" "Yes, child. Yes, you did." Another taxi ride, and the child stares at the window as it rolls through the big gates and past perfectly manicured lawns. They get out and walk across those lawns with their rows upon rows of simple white markers that seem to stretch as far as the eye can see. They stop at one and stand before it. The child is silent. His grandpa taught him not to interrupt when adults are speaking. Grandpa looks at the stone and says, "Son, I've brought your son here today so he can meet his father." The boy looks at Grandpa and asks, "Is this where my daddy is?" Grandpa kneels beside the boy and says, "Yes, this is where your daddy is. You see, your daddy was a soldier like I was. He left to go and fight a war because his country said they needed him. Your daddy died there, but he was a hero. And this place, this is where our country lays our heroes to rest. But your daddy won't be lonely, for he is surrounded by thousands of other heroes. Why, just over that hill are my friends. They were heroes too." The little boy asks why his daddy had to be a hero. His grandfather thinks for a moment, takes the child's hands, and says, "Your daddy didn't have to be a hero. He didn't want to be a hero. None of the mommies and daddies here wanted to be heroes either. He just wanted to love and stay with you. But sometimes loving and protecting somebody requires daddies to do what they don't want to do. You know what we do when that coyote gets into the hen house, right? How we hunt him down so that all the other hens can live without worrying about the coyote anymore?" The little boy just nods with tears in his eyes. "Well, that's what your daddy did. There were some bad men that wanted to hurt good people, and your daddy, and then a lot of other daddies and mommies, had to leave to protect their children from them coyotes. Sometimes, when you stand for what is right and what is just, it takes a big sacrifice." The little boy sniffs mightily and looks deep into his grandfather's eyes and says, "When I grow up, I'm going to be like you and Daddy. I'm going to protect you from bad men and coyotes." Grandpa hugs the little boy and says a prayer to God and country to not let his grandson grow up to be a hero. This is the price that some are willing to pay for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that some have taken for granted. On May 30th, this country will observe Memorial Day, the day set aside to remember our fallen and what they stood for the ideals that they died for. This Memorial Day, I ask you to take a minute from your barbecues, your day at the beach, just to hug your family and friends. Get on your knees and pray to whatever God you hold sacred for the wisdom and understanding. Wisdom and understanding to know that others died to fulfill the promise of America for you. These men and women stood against things, some that are throwing around like candy at a parade. They stood against racism and bigotry in places like Normandy, Rwanda, the Balkans, Iraq, Afghanistan, and so many others. They stood for the right to worship God as you want without the fear of persecution and death. They stood for the right to speak your mind against the government. They stood for what it means to be an American. America, I task you. Yes, I task you and hope you can overcome what I see you becoming these days. I task you to stop the bickering, stop the persecution of your neighbors, stop being Republican and Democrats before you tear this country apart. Memorial Day is a day of remembrance. Stop and remember what it means to be an American. Perhaps you should reread the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, for which these brave men and women cherished so much that they were willing to pay for it for their dear lives. They were willing to lay down their life so future generations could have them and cherish them as they did. These brave men and women should not have died in vain, and only you can make sure that that happens. Thank you for listening to me. I have a couple of minutes left. I can do my Ukrainian thing, right, Dick? Dick says, yeah. All right. Now, our government has spent billions and billions of dollars on the war and to help the Ukrainian people defend their country against Russia. Whether that's good or bad, I'm not going to get into. I will say that we've spent billions of dollars that we don't have. But I don't make those decisions. And my concern is for the Ukrainian people. I want to support the Ukrainian people. They inspire me. They inspire me, America. They do. Take a good hard look at the Ukrainian people. They are fighting for their country. They are fighting for their homes. They're acting like Americans should. Think about that. They're fighting for their very homes and for what form of government they chose, just like every American should. We should be fighting for our Constitution, for our God-guaranteed rights, for the principles espoused in this document. I want to support the Ukrainian people. I know you want to support the Ukrainian people. So, if you go over to this website, it's proofs.texasgrace.com, and you follow that link to a gallery called Maria Ukrainian Angel. You can purchase some really cool art from a Ukrainian model of mine. It's really good. Nice stuff. And 100% of those profits, 100% of them, they're going to go directly to the World Kitchen Chefs for the Ukraine. 100%. Download some cool art or purchase some cool art. You can get gallery wraps like this one there. I mean, they're really, 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 really great. So go support the Ukrainian people. Dick, how much time do I have? 5 minutes. So I can do my closing? Damn, I love it when I make my time. I really do. All right, we're going to do the ending. I want to leave you with the song from. Oh no, we're going to do the angel song, right? I want to leave you with this song by Rodney Foster, and I want you to listen to this song. You can go purchase his album or purchase the single on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your music from. While we listen to this song, let us remember our brothers and sisters in uniform that are today standing for our liberties and our freedom. If you are wearing the uniform, I want to say to you, thank you. I want to say to you, I'm proud of you. Until next month, stay safe and stay vigilant.
All I ever wanted to do was fly, leave this world and live in the sky. I left the C-130 out of Fort Worth town. I go up some days I don't want to come down. Well, I fly that plane, call the angel flight. Come on, brother, you're with me tonight. Between heaven and earth, you're never alone. On the angel flight, come on, brother, I'm taking you home. I love my family and I love this land, but tonight this flight's for another man. We do what we do 'cause we heard the call. Some gave a little, but he gave it all. I fly that plane, call the angel flight. And come on, brother, you're with me tonight. Brother, you're with me tonight. Between heaven and earth, you're never alone. On the angel flight, come on, brother, I'm taking you home. Come on, brother, I'm taking you home. Well, the carpet's quiet and the stars are bright. Feels kinda like church in here tonight. It don't matter where we touch down. On the angel flight, it's sacred ground. When I fly that plane, call the angel flight. Got a hero riding with us tonight. Riding with us tonight. Between heaven and earth, you're never